Hello everybody, my name is Christian Quick and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be talking about mod items, or die items. So first, let's Control C and then let's Control V, and we are going to be making a light brown die. And then on top of that, we're going to do light brown die. And then we are going to set this as just a regular item. You don't have to set this as a die item. We're not going to really get into die items until, because this wouldn't be calling that it's a die item. If you say this is a die item, then it's going to ask for one, and then so like if I call this for die item, then it's basically going to say put in your die color dot brown, and then you put a little comma, and that works. But the problem is we're going to be needing to make a new die color, and this is generally when we get to blocks and we color things. But as of now, we just want this to be item, and we are just going to need this to be new fabric item settings. So let's focus on the die color for a moment, because we are going to end up making this because it does get called in a lot of the blocks. So let's go in our item and let's make a brand new, let's call this mod die color, mod die color. And then, well, you know what we like to do here. Just copy over the entire class, including the implementation, and then Control V. And you'll notice that there's a couple issues. And then usually we just copy this, and then everything is fine. But you'll notice that there are still some wrong things. This is my fault. This is not a class. This is an enum. So now that's all fixed. But sometimes you'll still get some stuff where it says, hey, this is wrong, and then, so see how this down here is perfectly fine. If I fix this by calling mod die color, and then I call this mod die color, it'll fix this issue, but now it says there is an issue down here. The best thing that I can recommend is to Control F, look up die color, because see how it's still being used? You want this thing to be gray. You want this to say, I want you used, not anymore. So let's go over every instance. So go over your first instance and then go down. So that's mod die color, mod die color. This is mod, or just regular die color. So we'll put, mod die color. And then every instance next one. So this is die color. So we're going to go in, mod die color, mod die color. And then next instance, good. And then these need to be changed. Mod die color, mod die color. And then usually when you go through all of them, everything should not only be like looking good, but should be working as well. Because sometimes you will make something, and when you like do it in the test it out in the game, what'll usually happen is just something crashes and it doesn't look good. So from there, you have to use your brain smarts. First, why is it crashing if it does crash? And then how do I fix it? But for now, we've copied everything that said die color. So now this should be like it is a completely new thing, right? Nope, it still says I missed one. Die mod. If I get rid of this, nothing happened. I'm going to assume that it just thinks it was being called, but it wasn't, because I deleted it. Usually, if there was still something, something would be like, do you want to import the class? And then it would be red. So it didn't ask me that, so I'm going to assume that everything's fine. And then let's delete, actually, let's delete all of these except for brown. We'll keep brown on here, because we're actually going to change it. End it there. We're going to change the ID to 1, and then we're going to change this to light brown. So the color, the name is light brown. And for most purposes, if you change any of this stuff, it doesn't work anyways. As you can tell, see how they're gray. They're not actually being used. But just for simplicity's sake, we have our light brown in here, so that's mainly all we have to do. When we get to more complicated blocks where it's going to start using mod dye color, that's where some things are to get a little more interesting. From here, we now have our new mod item, so let's add this to our items list, and then we could do light brown dye. We're going to go in our data gen, now that thankfully this is working from the previous video. Light brown dye, and then from here we're just going to need, there's no block state, it's going to need a lang, so going to need a name, and then here we're going to call it light brown dye, and then from here, light brown dye. Perfect. And then the model is already going to be redone. It's going to need a texture. It's going to also need to have a data. So for this, we're going to start with, it's going to need a recipe. Oop, this is Minecraft recipes. Let's take a look at what recipes we already have. So for bagel, it's basically saying you put in some bread, you got this, and stone cutting. Not what I'm looking for. This is probably much better to do this in. Control C. And then let's make a new thing called light brown, BR, brown dye.json. Then we're going to paste it. And then we are simply just going to put in, you don't have to make this pattern. I'm going to make a pattern. This is going to be HMH3, and then this would be the toffee. Yeah, toffee flower. And then this is going to give HMH3 light brown dye. Just going to give you one of them. Technically, you would want to do shapeless. We'll put it in the mod group, right? We don't have to do that. We'll take it out. So now it has a crafting table. It doesn't need a loot table because it's not a block. It doesn't need a tag. It doesn't need anything with Minecraft. So let's make a texture real interesting. Hello, it is I, the editor. I have not much to say at all. I just kind of blew up the texture and then just detailed it. I probably could have made it a little darker on the bottom, but other than that, this was a very easy and simple texture. I felt like this was odd to add in the mod, like the dye item, but then I didn't want to just add in the item because like that would just be like, I don't know, we've already done an item. So even though it has a purpose, I didn't want to just add in just an item as an item because, I mean, really, you don't even need it to do anything special. It's literally just an item because it just is something that it is a material that is just used for recipes at first, and then it gets used into other things, so it needs to be data called and stuff like that. But beyond that, the simplicity is it's really easy, but we're gonna add some of that extra stuff like the mod dye class, and that's because it actually does get used later. So in the next couple of videos, it will be used. But I mean, with that in mind, that's why it's there, even though we're not actually using it yet. But hopefully the texture isn't too bad. It kind of looks like a little blob of some sort. I don't even really know. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I've run out of things to say, so I guess back to the video. Alright, here we are in our beautiful Minecraft world. We've run the data generation, and we already set our loot table. So if I click on here, we get our light brown dye. See how it popped up after I crafted it? We forgot to make the advancements, but we do have it in here, right in here. So now we could put this on some stuff, but let's add the the advancement recipe so that we can have it unlocked in here. And then let's also try and click on a sheep and then dye it brown while using the light brown dye. Alright, so with that in mind, we can close all our tabs here. Let's open up our advancements and then let us grab out here. And then we're going to call this the light brown dye. And then basically when we get items of HMH3, and then we need the toffee flower, We will then unlock the recipe for our light brown, brown dye. And then down here we have our light brown dye. Alright, so now we have that advancement set. Now to make the item do something, because I mean we're going to use it for everything else in the next videos, but to have it do something in this video, let us make a new, let's call this brown dye item. And then it's going to extends item, and then it's going to say, hey, constructor matching super. And then in here we are going to need to do use. Actually, no, it's use on entity. There we go. And then if I look up, let's say, sheep entity, and then it says that if we look in here, all right, let's copy the create child for reference. We're going to just put it down here. It's going to be a little bit messed up because it's going to be outside of the thing. And the other thing that we're going to take is the interact mob, because this is something that we're also going to be messing with. So we have these two things in our hand, and the first thing that it looks like we're going to want to do, basically, because we do this all the time, if user.get world, and then you want to do dot is client, it'll be purple, that is fine, and then we're going to do and hand is equal to hand dot main hand. So this is basically saying if I have my main hand and I am using it to do something. We can also try and call if, and then we can do, let's see, we have our if sheep entity, and right now it says it's null. We want basically the sheep entity to equal the entity type equals sheep. So let's try and write that nicely. If I was to say if, and then here it's talking about the sheep entity, so entity dot get type, because we are taking the entity. This doesn't know we're messing with a sheep, so we need to say that we're looking for a sheep. Get type, and then we're going to have it equal, and then we want it to be the entity equal to sheep. Control C, and then Control V. So that is now in there. And then from here, we can now have the very beginning part of this of what we're trying to do. Control C, Control V. So now we have the sheep entity. And so we're not going to create a baby, but we are going to need a sheep entity, and then we're going to call this the entity again. Close it. And then basically we're going to do sheep dot get color, and then we are going to do the dye color dot brown. This is supposed to be called in dot get color. Dye color dot brown sheep get color dye color. Oh, we're not trying to get it. We're trying to set color. So this would be like if okay, yeah, set color. So we are looking at if, and then we're getting the type. So from here, it is asking if it is type. If you wanted to get the color, you would do it in this. But now we are identifying that we are grabbing a sheep, and then we are calling the sheep entity, and we're saying sheep dot set color to brown. From here, you want to do the we could also do the user dot get stack in hand, and then you could do the call for hand, and then do dot decrement, and then this would be an integer, which would be 1. So this is taking 1 out of your hand. Now, if you want to do if user, this is a little bit complex, user dot, and then you could do is creative, and then simply say, well, actually, no. If the user is not in creative, meaning that you are in survival, then you want to do this. So this will stop it that if you're trying to dye a bunch of sheep in creative, it won't do that. So now we can get rid of these because these are nonsense codes here. We can also get rid of the game event items category. So now it is here, and then the brown dye item is not being used. So let's call it here, brown dye item, fabric item settings, and then from here, let's restart the world and then make sure everything is working as intended. So we're gonna slash summon sheep, and now here we have a sheep. We are gonna click on it, and then it is now brown. If I am in creative, it will dye the sheep, but not take it out of my inventory. So we now have these nice toffee things. So you can tell that you get a lot more out of the flower now because the dye is larger. Let's compare it to the slash. Actually, we don't have to do it like that. We can just go up here, and then we can look up brown dye. So considering that this is called light brown dye, I mean it's kind of lighter. It's kind of lighter. Um, yeah, yeah. I did change the texture slash time set day. I did change the texture so it doesn't look as orange as it did. So it is now, it's almost like a light chocolate brown mixed with, it's like somebody mixed chocolate and caramel into one flavor. That's what it looks like. It's the most delicious looking flower. But beyond that, that is all that I'm going to be doing for this video. So thank you guys so much for watching, and without further ado,